it's Audrey. Today I'm going to be reacting to my original advocacy speech and just giving you guys some tips on how to write and perform your own. So let's get straight into the video. So before we get started, I want to point out that the intro can be written first or last. It should start mainly with an AGD, which is an attention-getting device. Mine usually starts with the ideal world, what everyone wants it to be, something that'll draw them in, make them happy. Then you're going to state the problem, bringing them down from happy to sad, explain what that problem is, and state your thesis, which is what we should do about it and what you're going to be going over in your speech.
After a long, hard day of schoolwork and studying, tired teenage brains crave some rest and relaxation.
See, that's just true. The judge will just know that.
We can't go on a real vacation. We need to be back in school bright and early before too long. Some of us mindlessly scroll through Snapchat or Instagram. The others spend time jogging or going to the gym. I, on the other hand, found my happy place on a tiny corner of the internet called Aww. That's with 2 W's. If you've never visited that,
so now I'm going to get into
more, I want you to imagine the most adorable and wholesome video possible. Pop quiz, is it A, a dog owner who builds his blind chihuahua a protruding harness so that it won't run into doors? Is it B, a really large German shepherd picking up a stubby-legged kitten by the scruff of its neck just so that it can reach the top of the stairs?
See, all these examples are just really cute things. Everybody likes to see them.
A puppy who follows its master to a golf game, runs out onto the green, knocks the ball in the hole to make sure his owner is happy, and then somersaults around the field. If you answered A, B, or C, congratulations, you're correct. Each one of these videos is equally as heartwarming and kind. Because no matter who you are, exposure to cute animals makes us happy. It's no wonder that a 2011 Psychology Today article stated that pet owners exhibit.
So, this is where you want to come in with some of your research, things that you've gone over once you've picked your topic. And your topic should be something that most people can agree on. Something with an emotional impact would usually do better. It's very easy to go too boring in an original advocacy speech. So you want something that's going to make people feel for you and feel for the problem. Someone or something dying usually does well. It's kind of sad. And then you're going to research your topic and come up with your structure. Research is pretty easy once you've chosen if you want to do a cause-effect solution structure or a problem-effect solution structure. A problem-effect solution structure can kind of get a little vague. Mine is a problem-effect solution structure that sounds almost like effects-effect solution, and you'll see why in just a minute. But you want to lead into that with some research, things that and you want to do a lot of research. You want to have as many sources as possible, and then if you don't need them, you don't need them. Oh well, you know more about your topic that way.
With greater self-esteem, we're more physically fit, we're less lonely, we're more conscientious, we're more socially outgoing, and had healthier relationship styles than non-owners. But now
and find a way to make the statistics sound more interesting to keep the judge and the rest of your competitors involved.
In a metal cage. Instead of rolling around, he's bloated to the point of being immobile.
So this is we're going to take them from super happy to questioning what's going on. Why is it super sad all of a sudden?
That's not just a hypothetical, it's a reality for countless numbers of puppies, foxes, rabbits, mink, and seals at this very moment. According to research-centered nonprofit LCA, over 1 billion rabbits and 50 million other animals are being raised on fur farms.
And this is where you're going to state the problem.
And however depressing that mental image may be, I assure you, the reality is far, far worse. It's time to take a stand for so many of these poor, helpless creatures.
This is a call to action.
So to fully understand the ramifications of fur farms, we'll first.
And here's the thesis when you're going to state what you're doing in your speech.
Next, we'll describe its implications for humans before finally proposing a legislative solution for the problem that independent firm Born Free USA called a lawless, heartless, vile industry. I was terrified while watching.
So this is where you're just going to lead into the problem, make an easy line to walk on.
Skinning puppies and wearing their flesh. However, these animated threats don't even top the 101 most terrifying impacts.
And you're going to state like your first cause or
Fur
problem,
farms,
like what's going on.
by their very nature, violate the 5 freedoms of animals agreed on by the International Scientific Committee on Animal Health. Now, these freedoms are meant to apply to any animal that's been
This is going to require a lot of research for causes and
and
effects.
they're not all that controversial. They refer to the freedom from hunger, freedom from discomfort, freedom from disease, freedom to express normal behavior, and the freedom from distress. We'll walk through them step by step based on an international scientific review from 2015. Animals on fur farms are not free from hunger. Instead, they're force-fed, then pumped full of chemicals meant to make them hungry.
Explain why it's an injustice or why
Later,
something's
heavy
wrong with
enough
what's going on.
fur and blubber to scrape off and sell. These animals are not free from discomfort as they're kept in separate, cold iron cages and prevented from seeing other animals except when forced to breed. These animals are not free from disease as the creatures grow obese. They chew their fur, bend their feet, suffer from diarrhea, and are often left to die in their own feces when they can't produce enough fur to satisfy the farm's owners. These animals are not free to express normal behavior. When you're trapped in a metal cage, you can't run. You can't climb, dig, hunt, or forage, and fear surrounds these poor animals. The farmers don't bother to domesticate them while enslaving them. Now, at this point, you might be...
In a normal cause-effect solution structure, the causes are usually not as sad as the effects will be. In mine, because it's a problem-effect solution, which kind of falls under effects-effect solutions, it's pretty sad in both body paragraphs, but it's easy enough to make it more or less sad. You just need to find a few more statistics. It just depends on what structure you're doing and what your main topic is.
Wondering, what sort of decent human being could possibly condone such inhumane behavior? The answer? A whole lot of good people who rely on fur farming to make a living. The Fur Commission USA, which prides its...
So that, again, was another easy line to walk on. And you're going to explain the first effect, or in this case, it's an effect, but it's also more of the other side of the argument, something that could be argued against you that you're going to want to clear up. And with all of your causes or effects, you want to link that back to your main topic, explain what's going on, and if it's not super, super clear, you're going to want to show why that matters.
On representing American mink farmers since 1994 argued strongly against all of the claims of abuse and cruelty. They say that 85% of the pelts used in the fur trade come from small, family-run farms. That farm-raised mink are among the world's best cared-for livestock. That American farmers voluntarily become certified under the Fur Commission's Humane Care Program. Now, all of that sounds pretty good. The problem comes when the brochure doesn't quite match the reality. Did you catch the key word in the first?
So when you're stating the other side, like what could be argued against you, you're going to want to turn that at the end. Say like why that's not valid or why it shouldn't even matter in the judge's eyes.
Commission's defense, voluntarily. There isn't a federal mandate of any kind specifically regulating fur farming. Even the Fur Commission can only point to the Animal Welfare Act, which just states that food animals can't be cruelly slaughtered. These creatures aren't being...
I don't know how many effects, it depends on like how many effects you'll want to put in your speech. It depends on how, like what your topic covers, how much you've put in your causes, how much time you have left. Your last one should be the most emotional one. It should lead you in to your advocacy and your legislation. It should lead you into that, so that it's easier for the judge to they'll sway in your direction.
Killed for food, so the only law that they can reference doesn't even apply. and if these creatures were being killed out of necessity, and clouding our sense of basic decency.
Sum it up for them before you
That's
go
why I
into your
advocate the United
advocacy.
States Congress
Makes it
passed
easier for them
the
to
Fair Fur
understand.
Farms Act of 2018. Section 1. All American fur farms.
That sentence is done in almost every advocacy. It leads you into your legislation. Makes a lot of sense. Sounds like professional. It's usually going to be, that's why I advocate the United States Congress passed the blah 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 act of blah blah blah. When going into your legislation, I recommend 3 to 5 sections. Otherwise, it gets a little long. If it's below 3, I've seen 2, but those seems kind of short unless you explain them in great detail. Mine is 3 with explanations, which is around a normal legislation. 3 is what I see most commonly because it's kind of in the middle between too short and too long.
Have 2 years to transition to sustainable farming practices or face immediate closure. This will allow for adequate time for them to change their ways without creating an unreasonable mandate. Section 2. Sustainable farming
Link it back to what you
practices
said
are
earlier in
defined
your
as
speech.
following the International Fur Trade Convention and retrieving only wild pelts from cageless, free-range animals such as the beaver, coyote, muskrat, and raccoon. This way will avoid infringing upon those 5 freedoms and limit the amount of animals being killed. Section 3. Any carcinogenic processing chemicals will be banned from use in the fur trade. Whether or not we all agree on how to treat animals, we should all agree on the importance of containing cancer. Today, we discussed the impacts of fur farms for both animals and humans before proposing the Fair Fur Farms Act of 2018. It strikes me that, with 2 W's, has...
So going into the conclusion, you're going to want to take a step forward. Restate your thesis in a way that was different than your intro to basically remind the judge of what you've talked about. It'll also kind of remind the judge why your legislation will work and why it should help. And then you should tie it back to your AGD, which you'll see in a second. Right now.
It's either that nice sound you let out as something cute crosses your path, or a sigh of defeat and disappointment. We have a choice to protect the dignity and lives of billions of woodland creatures through the use of proper regulations and restrictions, or to sit idly by as they're bloated, skinned, and left to rot. The choice is yours. And that blind chihuahua we talked about, despite the fact that it can't see, is watching.
Okay, so at the end there, you're going to want to have a call to action. You're going to put the burden of what's happening on the judge and the audience. It makes them feel for you more, and it makes it seem as though they're responsible, meaning that they're going to vote for you and give you the one in the room because your legislation was good, because you've thought it out, things like that. Throughout this whole thing, I also want to point out, your advocacy should be on something you're passionate about. No one wants to hear you talk about something you barely know about. I have done 2 speeches, both are environmental impacts, things like that. I've seen a lot of people do suicide speeches. If you're not passionate about it, it's going to show. And the main thing with any speech is that you want to sell the judge on what you're saying. And if you don't believe it, then why would the judge believe you? So that is the end of the video. I'll link the full speech in the description below. The speech won 6th place at the state championship for California. And make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment if you want to see anything else.